Watch as I create a beautiful hammered finish using the new EpoxyKote from Savage Patriot Polymers. Okay, what I am doing today is a hammered copper sample using the new EpoxyKote. Want to see how it hammers. So I'm going to do 3 ounces per square foot. So I'm going to do 6 ounces here. Okay, so I'm doing 6 ounces of EpoxyKote, and I'm going to split up the quantity between a copper mica and Savage Patriot's new Beachwood. It's kind of a bronzy tone, and it gives added depth and dimension. What I've done to this board, it is primered with a black primer, and I fogged it with bright copper spray paint, just to fog the edges and give a little bit of an undertone. You can add a little bit of a bronze spray paint if you want as well, but you're not going to see it. It's really just for the undertones and for the edges. Now, EpoxyKote is a new epoxy on the market that you can use on any countertop or shower project. If you're going to do predominantly white, we still recommend that you use PolyKote instead, because that will not amber, and all epoxy will amber over time. But Savage Patriot has gone ahead and used the highest quality products, so that way hopefully it will delay any ambering. But anytime I use this, it's going to be for mostly colored projects. All right, so I'm going to pour about half of my mixture. Give or take. That's about half. I have a little more in this cup, and I'm going to have more copper there. So I'm using a different brand of copper. Savage Patriot hasn't come out with one yet. So in the meantime, I'm going to use a different one. And then in the other cup, I'm going to use Beachwood. You know what? I'm going to throw an audible here and get another little cup, because I want this to have a patina in there. So out of this, oh, I already have that mixed in. Let's see if I can carefully, since I haven't started mixing my copper in yet, I'm going to try to pour a tiny bit of it off of this side of my cup to make my patina color without putting any copper in there. Come on. I don't need very much of it. Oh, I don't think this is going to work, but shoot. Well, let's see what I can do. If I can scoop a tiny bit of this and over pigment, it might work. Let's find out. So I was going to use this Tropical Tingle. To pigment it, and it might just be fine if I just over pigment a little bit. You don't need much. If you're doing a copper patina, you need very little of that turquoisey color. not sure if that's going to be the right color. I guess I'll wait and see. I might try a different color. I like it to be a little more on the teal or turquoisey side, a little brighter. This is a little more green. It's a really pretty color. So this is the color that it made. You can see that. That's the Tropical Tingle. So this is the Beachwood. That's really pretty. And then I'm going to go ahead and mix up my copper. Now this has about a 45-minute working time, maybe a little bit longer depending on your temperature. It's 70 degrees in my mixing area. So I should have plenty of working time. With a hammered copper though, you like to let it set up for a little bit and then hit it with your alcohol. So that's what I'll be doing here. Just giving it a really good mix to make sure that mica powder doesn't have a bunch of chunks in it. All right, so I'm going to lay down in no particular pattern because I'm going to blend this all together. Sort of blend it, I guess. Not completely blend it, but and I have my Beachwood. Just kind of putting it in between. Yes, it's all going to touch it, each other, but there are some areas that I want just one color. Let's give that a torch. And then I'm going to start blending this out without over blending the colors together just yet. I will chop them in together, but right now I just want to get the edges coated and just kind of fill the holes. So I'll push these colors together. Has a nice thick texture. I don't have a bunch of material flowing off my surface, so I'm not losing much, which is great. So I'm just gonna kind of gently blend those colors. I mean, I'm talking gently. I'm not pushing them together too much. I'm just moving that copper around into that Beachwood color. And in previous times I used a bronze, so I'm seeing how this turns out. I think it's gonna work out really well. You could go for a deeper brown or add a little bit of black dye or mica really to that if you wanted a darker shade. So that's the cool thing about this, is you can create your own colors. Okay, so I gave that a really good torch, and now I'm just gonna let it sit for, I'm gonna say 15 to 20 minutes, and then I'll come check it. Then I'll add the alcohol. Okay, I lied. I'm not going to be right back. So I forgot I needed to add my patina. So I'm going to see how this turns out with the Tropical Tingle. So I'm just drizzling this in a couple of spots, and then I'm going to blend it a little bit. I think this actually might work out. So I'm just going to take it lightly chop it in and then let it soften up. And then when I hit it with the alcohol, you're still gonna see that there, but it won't look like a blob. So we're just putting a little bit in there, okay? You don't have to do this part, but I like the patina look. And my customer in this case does too. So don't worry about any of those lines and things that you start to see on the board when you start with chopping, because that's all gonna flatten out. Yeah, that color is actually gonna work. I had a little hesitation in the cup, but I really like it on the board. So let's torch that again. Don't judge it too soon because it still has a lot of work to do. All right, now we'll be back. Okay, so we have about 2 minutes left on our 15-minute timer. And it was about 13 minutes from the start of me mixing to the end of the video. So I'm gonna go ahead and start adding a little alcohol just to see what it starts to do. And I'm just going to put some in my hand and see how it starts to fracture. Because this sets up a little faster than maybe other epoxy that I've worked with in the past, I don't want to miss my window and have it not work. So let's take a shot here. So it looks like it's hammering really well. Don't overdo your alcohol to start, okay? Because it's going to spread out and you don't want too much alcohol or it will get fuzzy looking. So some of this I'm just doing like little flicks of my fingertips, and whatever happens to be on my hands are making the smaller circles, versus when I drop it, I have big droplets and you'll see the bigger sections. So I like to give it a few minutes, check it out, see what's happening with it. Now, unlike PolyKote, where I rarely do a flood coat, on this with a hammered technique, you're gonna always wanna do a flood coat, because this is going to create some highs and lows and it may not glass itself out, and the flood coat's gonna even that out. So always count on doing a flood coat on this type of design. Now, what I see is really cool. These colors are melding super pretty. I'm gonna get a couple bigger droplets in between here. Because I want to break up like that, the tropical tingle, that turquoisey color. I don't want to see like little squiggles. I just want it to kind of blend in, and the alcohol is going to help push it. Because once you add the alcohol, the mica start to fight each other against that alcohol. Wow, I love what it's doing on top here. Woo. I'm going to bring the camera around when I'm done and you'll see what I'm seeing, because I know you can't see it from that angle. That looks so cool. Now, something that I have done in the past, if I don't like how something is hammering, depending on the results of how much alcohol I use, when I use it, is I'll take a plastic bag, turn it inside out, crinkle it up, and then, use it almost like a sponge to create some, dimension. So I might do that in a couple spots just to show you that that's an option. If you like it just like this, walk away, you're done. But if you want to see what other options are out there, then I can show you those as well. Okay, I came around the other side of the table, so hopefully I can catch this with the light. But it kind of looks like gold on top, like you can kind of see it shimmering on there. My lights are a little hard to work with, but you can see that it kind of creates these cells and highs and lows. Oh, sorry about that. And then it's gonna keep moving a little bit, and then I'm gonna grab that plastic bag. So you can leave it like this, add a little bit more alcohol if you want. You could even re-chop it at this stage and add more, but I want to do the bag and show you what that looks like. So hold on one sec. All right, so I have a plastic bag. I'm going to turn it inside out. Now the reason for that is I don't want the dye on the outside to bleed into my epoxy. So like there's some areas I really like what it looks like, but I don't always want there to be big droplets. I like to be, you know, kind of some dimension. So I'll take this and I will kind of just break it apart a little bit. And that'll give me an estimate too of how tacky this is. So this still has a lot of working time. So we're about 30 minutes in. And normally I want this to be so set up that when I do this little part, those pieces stand up and stay up. Okay, I don't want it to blend back down like it's doing. I want that texture to stay. So I think it could even go another maybe 5, possibly 10 minutes, and then determine if we need to do this again. So I'm going to just hit a couple spots with it. You just kind of want it crinkly, so that way there's, you know, kind of texture on your bag. And then just twist and turn. I'm barely tapping it. Just breaking up some of the design a little bit. Some areas I'm going to leave alone. I've done this technique as well all over the counter, and it really does turn out cool. So it's just preference on, you know, what your end result you're trying to go for. So I'm going to give it a few more minutes. I might try adjusting my alcohol here. And I'm going to go really high and just kind of get a couple little squirts out, because that will break up some of the bigger circles. I can drop alcohol in, it'll create another circle, because I want it to have its own highs and lows, but I don't want a bunch of defined round circles. It does hammer pretty nice though. And I love what the copper is doing with the beechwood color. I think that's what's creating that pretty gold that's rising to the top. Those two colors are going to play really nice together. I don't know if I'll need my plastic bag anymore. I think it's got a lot of good highs and lows and dimension there. Just break up some of these bigger ones. So you can see, like, hopefully you can see when I drop alcohol on something, it starts to open that space up a little bit more and create its own little circles out, you know, off the other circles. So that's what's going to give it the dimension and make it look hammered. Yeah, I don't think I need the bag. Honestly, I like how I broke up some of it, and I have a couple little textural spots with the bag, but know that that's an option. So if you're not getting the look you want, you can wait till this is really set up. Use that bag so that way the epoxy kind of stays on its side and stays up high, and then it'll settle down enough. You're not going to have a ton of ripples and texture, but that's also why your flood coat is so important in this type of design. But honestly, I'm really happy with it at this stage. So let me take it off of the tripod and show you guys again what this is looking like now. So hopefully you guys can see this. Really awesome texture. And that tropical tingle turned out to work out really, really well. Yeah, I like that. Sorry, my lights are terrible in here. What do you guys think of this finish? Let me know in the comments.